All right. Well, hey, Gundam Maniacs, welcome to the latest Gundam Explained podcast. I think it's easier for me to say latest than to think what number am I at, right? But
63 for the record.
yeah, that's right. The only reason was I was thinking about that today because I was like, oh, 64, Nintendo 64. I mean, why would I? But so then I'm like, okay, episode 64, and I'm making the thumbnail, and it's like, no, it's 63. So I'm like, let's just drop the numbers. Um,
Yep.
no, not really, but yeah, let's see. I'm gonna put on my old type eyewear real quick, and I'm gonna see who is in the chat. We've got Armad Ian Hansen, good to see you. We got Jedi Sayla, this old Gundam, good to see you. Mad Matt, the heavy metal mecha pilot, Metal Neo, Zionic Fenrir, and Lucas Garrett. Well, good to see everybody. We've got a cool
Yeah.
show.
Cheers, everybody.
Yeah. Cheers for sure, especially for you. We got a favorite coming up, sneak peek behind, but there's a lot of cool announcements that came out today, so we're going to talk about that here shortly. Gunpla stuff. There's also some news about movies and shows, little stuff, but kind of interesting. So I'll get into that as well. And what else is there to talk about? Well, we've got the Patreon, Discord, links in the description. We just had the movie night this past weekend for F91, so that was really cool. And that kind of it worked out good because this was the time frame that I wanted to get my F91 video out there. Actually, let me change the screen real quick.
Yeah, it all kind of lined up really nicely.
Yeah, because I want to touch on Victory soon, so it's like I wanted to get F91 done, and then get to Victory, but then I want to go back and work on Thunderbolt, do some reactions for Thunderbolt and Origin, because all that stuff is
yeah.
cool. Yeah, and just real quick, since I'm already on the screen, I also had the video up of the metal build Crossbone, which was awesome. Another late UC thing that's pretty cool. But yeah, what I wanted to talk about real quick is just some. Oh, you know what? I'm looking at the stream and it's like my graphics are all messed up. But last night I was supposed to go to see Cuckoo's Doan's Island.
Oh, I
And
hate hearing supposed to.
yeah, it's not too big of a deal, but it's just like both the kids were under the weather or no, my wife was under the weather, the youngest was under the weather, and it was just one of those where it's just enough things going on. I'm not gonna go to the movie with him and then leave my wife, so I just didn't go. Luckily, I've seen the movie and it's really cool. I just really wanted to see the English dub, but apparently that's going to be coming out
Yeah, hopefully we
sometime.
get our hands on a Blu-ray of that because that's what they did for like Thunderbolt, and I mean they never released any print copies of Hathaway's Flash, did they?
Not in the U.S.
That's a shame.
But
I
and you gave me
I
an
would have
idea
gotten
though.
it, even though I wasn't a huge fan of Hathaway's Flash. It would have
Uh,
been a nice, something to add to my collection.
yeah, I was even pricing it when it came out, but it was never. I was like, that's on Netflix for now. But that gave me a good idea. I want to try to find maybe. I don't know if this is possible. The dub might be an SRT file or whatever someone has online that I can download and match it with my Blu-ray that I have ripped. I'd like to check that out and see if that's a possibility. And there's some more news about that stuff on the shows and all that I want to get to here a little later. Let's see what's going on in the chat.
Well, Lucas
Neon
Garrett
Wave.
hopes that your wife and kid get better soon, Adam.
Oh, they're fine. They're
yes.
playing games in the living room. Again, it was like not a big deal, but it was just enough where I was like, yeah, I should.
One of those 24-hour bugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad that they're well, though.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. No, me too. It makes it easier to enjoy our hobby. But speaking of stuff going on this week as well, I got the Real Grade God Gundam, and I have I don't know if it's focusing on them. Yeah, it's trying to. I did some panel lining, some decals. Once that looks good, I'll do a top coat on it, but I'll do a review of it. It's been a while since I built a Real Grade, and it was actually a very pleasant build. It just seemed like a high grade just with more stuff, and that's not a bad thing. The latest high grades have been pretty good anyway. So
yeah. It's they've definitely stepped up their game. So
Yeah, and well, what about you? Any Gunpla you've been working on this week?
well, still cracking away at the old Hyzac that I've been working on, and of course putting together the 3D prints for the high mobility Zaku 2. But it looks like I'm probably going to have to put some Gunpla projects on hold here soon, right?
Oh, really? Why? Because you're going to be building the Master Grade Zeta
I,
Verka, or
I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, is anybody excited? I'm. Was there something announced? Because I didn't hear about anything.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I can't believe all the announcements, and we'll get that. We'll get to that here shortly, actually. But yeah, a lot of what they announced, I was like surprised about. Um,
Yeah,
but
it's a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one.
yeah, there you go. We always need those references. Um, but I always say they. I always say they, and it's like they all their those announcements they made is like the Illuminati's like, here's some Gundam info, and then they disappear, and it's
It
like
does feel like that.
I should be saying Bandai announced some stuff, but I'm gonna move on real quick. So something cool on the screen is you might have seen this in some other places. This is like a logo I'm now going to use for Gundam Explained to have it branded with like a symbol instead of worrying about the word Gundam and explained everywhere. So like on social, you see it. That's way it's a good idea to see. Hey, this is from Gundam Explained, so you know what tier of lore you're getting. But no, I'm joking. It
Well,
was
it's
pretty.
it's a good like watermark option,
Yeah,
like it's awesome. It's a very iconic, recognizable sort of glyph that exists out there. So
yeah, and it's cool because I've always been into graphic design, did a little bit professionally, but not to the degree you do. And I love like your logo, and I was like, man, what should I do for this? So you helped me through the process, kind of brainstorm. And one of the reasons I went for something like this is I'm a fan of like glyphs or logos on things. Like I love like Bloodborne has like this logo that when you
yeah,
see it, you know it's Bloodborne, even though that's from Berserk in a way, it pulls from that, but so does a lot of things. Symbols are that anyway. But
yeah,
no,
anything you can get a tattoo of, right?
yeah,
That's like,
yeah,
you,
it's
you
like
wouldn't want to get a tattoo that just said Gundam Explained, but like I could see myself getting a tattoo of something like this.
it's exactly the same thing with T-shirts, stickers. It's like I wanted to be able to have cool stuff that you'd want to put on your mat or wear, and so yeah, I came up with this idea. You kind of helped me with it, adding the little professional touch on it. But yeah, I like it. I love see this is the part of content creation I like. I like it when I make something and then I can see it and be like, oh, this is mine. I don't know.
And
but
hey, I'm just saying, it would make a good sticker, look
yeah,
good on a t-shirt, maybe. I don't know.
exactly. In
Just some
fact, like
ideas.
well, I haven't tested this out for sure yet, but below this video, there might be a link to the store and it has shirts. It has some with like just the plain logo, but it might have these options or the link will take you there. I haven't really promoted that stuff yet because I'm still just toying around with it, but if anyone has any suggestions, let me know. Lucas Garrett saying I might make it my wallpaper for my laptop. Okay, that's cool. That makes me think I should get some of my like action figure photography shots that turned out real well, slap this on it, and yeah, give it out for wallpapers and stuff.
There you go,
Oh,
man. And it's an iconic blue. I
yeah,
would go so far as to say that you own this blue.
yeah,
This is Gundam Explained blue. There's
yeah, totally.
like,
Yeah, that's
there's
how I.
Cobalt, there's Cerulean, and then there's Gundam Explained blue.
Yeah, GE Blue. Yeah, that's the. No, it's true. When I am working on design stuff for Gundam Explain, I'm always thinking about that blue color. Um, Okay. Metal Neo saying the logo is amazing. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so let me show something else also. G Watch, another little logo I made. It'll probably look better on a black background, but the purpose of this is it's for the Patreon. We're gonna have an exclusive podcast on there. It's gonna be called G Watch. So if you're a supporter, you'll get access to it, but also be part of uh, uh, the chance or the potential to actually be on an episode where we'll decide what Gundam show we're going to watch and then, yeah, talk about it. So, Um,
That's awesome.
yeah, it
Yeah,
should be
man.
fun.
The watch.
Yeah. Yep. And it kind of has the look of G Gundam, but also Witch from Mercury is coming out, so there's a lot of little crossover there.
Yeah, it's a little nod to the sort of Gundam aesthetic that exists out there. They love their,
Yeah,
huge uppercase
yeah,
first letter and then
yeah, doing all the like fancy stuff. I like that design elements. There's one I found today, and I meant to save it to show you later, but anyway, I'll get to that later. All right, so that's that stuff, guys. That's all that stuff. Okay, so real quick, who here is playing Evolution, and are you enjoying it? I said it is pretty fun. So, Steven, have you bothered playing any Evolution?
I haven't. I looked at it and I loved the trailers. It's an exciting looking game. It's just not for me.
Yeah, I get it. In fact, I haven't played it at all this week. Um, and I think it's fun, but it's one of those more of I'm just in the mood to play it, I'll play it. But if not, but
Yeah.
I just like that a bunch of people are enjoying it that are not Gundam fans. That seems to be what the main thing is, and that's pretty neat.
That's the big draw of it for sure. And I'm with Zeonic Fenrir in the chat here. I would give it a shot on the console release. I'm not going to go out of my way to install a game,
Yeah,
when I'm not generally a PC gamer to begin with.
that is a good console game. Gundam Evolution. That's a good one, especially just getting that wide audience. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Zionic, let's see. Or oh yeah, it's the same thing he said right here, waiting for the console release. Roster-wise, it's already improvement over SD Gundam Battle Alliance. Yeah, that's the thing. Evolution does have some very unique mobile suits.
Yeah.
Geronimo Martinez, it's fun when I'm not getting raffle stomped. I haven't heard that in a while. By people who apparently live and breathe FPS switches literally every match. Yeah, it can be pretty tough, but once you get the flow down, works. Iqbal Prasadana? Apologies. Yeah, seeing the MS in actions is one thing. Got my ass handed to me. Every match is not. I think I'll stay with just building Gunpla while listening to people play the game. Well, that's good. At least you can listen to people play it.
Well, this started a very interesting conversation over on my Discord where we were talking about like, there's a lot of games out there that are like team shooters, right? Gundam Evolution is one of those types of team shooters where sometimes you have game modes where you have a bit of like an objective, right? Like you have destroy the base or defuse the bomb, something like that. But at the end of the day, do those really feel like objectives or do those feel like superfluous optional things when the rest of the game is just a death match?
Yeah, you're
Because
exactly
at the
right.
end of the day, like, kill more bad guys, win more loot or whatever. So, we were talking about the idea of like what it might look like if there was a truly, team cooperative game that had some like asymmetric objectives. Like one team was supposed to defend an outpost while another team was supposed to rescue a captured, ally, something like that.
Yeah.
Things that would really drive you to think tactically. And one of the big things about that, no respawns. If you don't have respawns in your online shooter, then you might think a little bit more tactically about
Yeah.
going into every gunfight that you find yourself in.
Well, that's why, yeah, Counter-Strike got really popular, and they do the other versions because the match-based no respawn. I think that, and in Dark Souls is a good example of kind of more difficult, challenging gameplay mechanics people do like. I
Yeah.
think you bring up some good points. The asymmetrical multiplayer too, like, there's the ones that do like Evolve started it, and Ash vs Evil Dead, where there's the bad guy and then a bunch of good guys. But
Yeah, Dead by Daylight, where
yeah, yeah. But one game, and I always bring this up when people talk about this, it's never been replicated, is Siphon Filter Omega Strain on the PS2, when the objectives were completely different things. It was like someone would go shut off a water valve so the sprinkler system would stop so they can get the hard drive out of the computer. Like that type of co-op. And what it's got to be is there needs to be gameplay elements in a co-op scenario where players have to do something that's not necessarily specific to their character, but more interacting with the world, that like someone has to say, hey, you need to go do that, or someone needs to choose to do this.
exactly.
And yeah, games need to introduce that a lot more.
Yeah, Siphon Filter is a deep cut, man.
Oh yeah.
That is a good throwback. I love the Siphon Filter series.
Yeah, I even played the PSP ones. I played through and beat those. Yeah, that was back when I worked security, and I would always have portables on
Yeah.
me. Um, oh yeah, Ian, also Siphon Filter fan. That's cool. Um, from Ryu Ganukami, God's Stamen. Hello, SD Gundam Battle Alliance and Gundam Evolution are currently being talked about, but it's a pity that cross-play between different game consoles is not possible for either of them. Yeah, and that
It's a
is
very
weird.
good point.
Even though I have seen developers start adding that in after the fact. Um, yeah, it's very interesting. Um, oh, Ian is saying Days Gone is supposedly set in the Siphon Filter universe. That is fascinating.
Yeah, I
I
was not
like
aware
that
of that.
idea. Yeah. Um, okay, let's see. Other stuff about evolution from Sinister Pain. I've been having a great time, mostly losing though. I like how humble people are about losing. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just one of those things when you play something competitive. Metal Neo. I wish I could get it. I do have a gaming computer, but it's mostly just for school, and so that stinks. But it looks pretty fun. If I could get it, I'll happily get it. And then LB Call of with MS. So Call of Duty with MS. No, thank you. It is really hard to have the MS feeling. Just a skin for me. GBO2 is far better and realistic. And yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, GBO2 is definitely more for the Gundam fanatic, while Evo is
Yeah.
just a marketing game. But
I can't remember who it was on Twitter, but it was either Gundam No Context or Tank Double Zeta. But one of the two of them was talking about how, they were so close with the first person view, but instead of going for the cockpit view that you had in like 0079 Rise from the Ashes, they went for like a straight up first person shooter view, which isn't really immersive in the sense that Gundam, if you're going to play a first person Gundam game, you expect to see like the walls of your cockpit, at least
maybe your
in,
hands on the joysticks.
yeah, something.
Yeah.
Um, and it would be cool to see what the first person interpretation of like the 360-degree panoramic cockpit frame of like the later UC mobile suits would look like.
That's why in I can't believe they haven't done this in VR yet because I've played Squadrons. I played the whole entire game, even multiplayer in VR with joysticks, and that was so fun. Like they
It's amazing.
they they need to have Gundam like that where I can wear the headset and the 360
I,
cockpit, I
I,
can like look
I,
around.
I want Steel Battalion, but Gundam.
Yeah, exactly. But with the VR, I could only imagine like if I get damaged enough and I look around and maybe a panel of the 360 thing is kind of messed up so I can't see, like that would
That'd be
be
awesome.
yeah. In another thing, and I talked about this with F91 is in I keep remembering Rogue when I was having discussion brought up the AMBAC system, like how if you were to play a Gundam game in that way, it would lend itself naturally to how it works, where there's automated things. Like if you have the Gundam walk towards the weapon, it will automatically pick it up and stuff like that. Like you could play a game where you don't have to worry about little things like that, but still control um the mobile suit.
Yeah,
I'd love that.
agreed.
Okay. Moving on. This is my bad. On the Patreon, you can ask questions that I bring up on the podcast, and I just did it. It says 3 hours ago. But it's because a supporter actually reached out with a question, and I was like, oh, totally forgot. So, and I thought this was a good one. What Gundam show would you like to see remade with better animation or more episodes, or even have the story more fleshed out? And I'll let you think about that. And I think an obvious one is 0079, so that's not fair.
Yeah.
Zeta, I think it got some good animation added in the trilogy movie, so that's good. Um, it would probably be Double Zeta to get its proper trilogy treatment.
Yeah.
And maybe even if the ending of the Zeta trilogy is true, make it to where he still maybe runs into Camille on that colony, and Camille can't. He's not in a coma anymore, but maybe he just sits and talks to Judo, and uh, he starts helping him that way with understanding his new type abilities or something. I don't know, but if not that, I think this would be like where they take F91 and make a proper show out of it. That that's what I think. What about you, Steven?
Yeah, I think Double Zeta is obviously a good choice because it does kind of feel a little bit bipolar the way that the show starts versus the way that it finishes, right?
Yeah.
The tone shift that happens between season 1 and season 2. But for all the reasons that you said, all that despite the fact I would probably still want to see a full treatment of Zeta Gundam just because the a new translation really kind of teased us with like, oh well, we have some new animation for you and we're going
Yeah.
to throw it in towards the beginning, but then the rest of it's basically going to be about the same. We're going to change out a couple of the plot elements. um it's interesting because the 0079 movie trilogy changed more than the Zeta Gundam trilogy as far as the story goes, because you swapped
Oh,
out like the G fighter for like
that's right.
the what was
Yeah.
it? It
The
was
core
the
booster.
the jet core booster.
Yeah.
Um, they definitely tried to incorporate Sayla more into the movie trilogy, where
Hmm.
Sayla didn't get enough love in the series, and so that's another thing. It's like, do we need another fully animated 0079 series? Probably. We're kind of on our way there with some of the
Yeah.
origin stuff.
Right.
Hopefully, we get that out of the origin because, characters like Sayla and Slegger are definitely getting a lot more love in
Yeah.
origin than they did in the original series.
Yeah, maybe, I feel like there's ways you can incorporate Sayla more into the stories that we've missed, even in Zeta, without changing the timeline as a whole, but maybe just more back story, interesting story of how she navigated, her brother being missing, and then her, like, where is she within this world of Xeon is still, it's still the Republic of Xeon, so how is she
Yeah.
feeling, you know?
I mean, we get a very interesting view of Amuro in Zeta, where he's kind of under house arrest and
Yeah,
he's treated as this sort of outcast. But he's the only person from the white base that really gets ostracized to that degree. And you see
right.
Hayato, you see Kai, but Sayla's just kind of nowhere to be found in that mix. And so it would have been nice to get a little bit more of Sayla's story leading up to Double Zeta and Char's counterattack.
It would be really sick if they made some sort of story, and I'm going to actually make it right now, okay? Where after the end of 0079, Sayla is trying to find a place and ends up being, I forget which colony she ends up going to. Remember, she becomes a nurse.
Yeah,
I forget which colony it is, but the idea is she's trying to navigate and get out of the Earth Federation system without them finding out who she really is. Like, I think that would be like a cool thriller show or something where it's like Sayla, she has some help. People on both sides know who she really is, and they have to try to keep it secret. And then I'd like the idea of maybe someone finding out, and then they're trying to expose her, and then so that causes some intrigue.
that'd
That
be
would
pretty
be,
sweet.
yeah, that'd be pretty interesting.
Full Artesia. Yeah,
Yeah.
I came up with the story on my own because I have the high grade Gundam Mark II that I was kind of modeling after the Gundam Alex. I call it the RX-78 NT-2 instead of NT-1.
Okay.
And I have it in sort of my head canon of like, this was the Gundam that was intended for Sayla when she joined the Titans, because if Char is going to join the AUG, then obviously Sayla would fall on the opposite side of that spectrum. So, where would Sayla find herself in the Titans? Would she be kind of like an Emma character that, didn't necessarily agree with all of their views, but, maybe or maybe she believes in their views but doesn't agree with their methods, something like that.
How boring would it be if I was thinking she shouldn't fight anymore? Like, she really just doesn't want to.
Well, it's got it, that would be a great story angle, because isn't that kind of what her foil to Amuro in 0079 was? Is like Amuro didn't want to fight, and she kind of
Oh.
made him on a lot of occasions. She's like, get in the Gundam because Bright says to, you're our only hope, go fight.
And even risked herself. and went
Yeah.
out, and then that Amuro found out about that. Yeah, that was that whole thing. Yeah.
So, wouldn't it be ironic if the fate that Amuro wanted to be, a pacifist, wanted to stop fighting, wanted to stop being a part of war. Wouldn't it be kind of a cruel irony that Sayla gets what Amuro wanted?
Yeah. No, I think that would be cool. Yeah,
I
especially
like that.
because where we see her end up in Double Zeta, if that is canon, yeah, I, yeah, you know what I gotta say, it's that Andor show. I love it, and it makes me want to explore Gundam characters and not have to worry about action the whole time. Where characters are involved in the world to such a degree, like I guess that's how I got into narrative much more afterwards, because it has that sort of stuff going on where people are in situations they don't want to because of others' agendas, and they have to tiptoe around things.
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
mean, I haven't seen Andor, but I enjoyed Rogue One for what it was.
yeah.
You know, where do you go with a character like that has a finite end? It's like,
You know what they do, and this is what I think is always missing in movies, is the filmmakers are focusing more on how do we make an on-screen situation compelling and emotionally um compelling to the viewer. Like how, yeah, I feel like it's like if we're able to get at someone's emotion in some way, it could be a trope. But if it's executed well, that's all that is required. Because really, a lot of art is just the same thing
yeah.
redone. You know.
Well, and that's the thing about Rogue One, for instance, is like the whole concept of Rogue One is you have to understand, like, at the end of the movie, they have to, well, spoilers out. Spoiler alert. Do not, mute me for a second here. At the end of the movie, they have to deliver the plans because that is what happens in the immediate following movie.
Yep.
So, like, exactly what's going to happen. So, how do you, as a filmmaker, as a writer, create stakes that the character or that the audience can care about? That how do you create characters that are still compelling, knowing full well that the audience already knows where they're going. The characters know where they want to go, but
Yeah. How do
where do
you?
you create that conflict and that tension?
So it's a mix of, yeah, making it compelling, emotionally compelling. So that could be acting or whatever the risk is, but also it's something that George Lucas already applied in the original Star Wars in the first place, was have like dialogue and interactions be based on the context of the world. So you might not understand what they're saying, even though you know what they're trying to get at their end goal, talking about other planets or people. And so that's another thing Andor does. It's constantly, as these characters are talking about their story, they're delivering nonsense and seriously. Like they're delivering nonsense about the world, but they do it in such a believable way where you're like, oh, what's that place? And then as a Star Wars fan, you hear, you're like, oh, that's this, that's that. I would even think the last episode of Andor had more Easter eggs than all of Mandalorian. Maybe. Could be. It could be. Um, well, cool. Yeah, that was a good one. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Okay. What I want to get to now is all those announcements that were made. So, the main one, which I think is pretty cool, is that let me do something with the browser. I might have not had this the version Katoki Master Grade Zeta. Um I think it was just the last week where we were all like guessing what it could possibly be.
Yeah.
Um
And I think Zeta was probably the last thing I would have guessed.
Even
Like,
though it's one of those where it seems obvious just because it's like a main one that hasn't been made yet, but in terms of what Katoki would make, I'd never thought it would be Zeta.
yeah.
Yeah. Um and then I was just trying to think, I have that Robot Spirits um Zeta, and I forget if that's a Katoki because I know it's real type markings. I'll have to look at that later. But anyway,
Well, I
so
know that Katoki had an interesting quote, and I brought this up on my Discord earlier today. Is the quote that he said that I found very interesting about the Zeta Gundam is that there's no canonical transformation method for the Zeta Gundam. When
Oh,
you see it transform in the anime, you get like a vague idea of what it looks like and what the components look like when it transforms. But it's not like, say, the unicorn, where the unicorn, we all know exactly what the unicorn looks like when it transforms from the unicorn to the Gundam destroy mode.
yeah.
The Zeta Gundam, it's like we know what the finished product looks like. We know the two end stages, but in between is kind of up in the air. And so, this new transformation gimmick that he's presenting to us is, supposed to be like the new definitive version of that, right?
Ah, okay. So I didn't know about, but that's what he was speaking on this, that they're actually thinking about the transformation.
Yeah, I mean the transformation's definitely like the number one gimmick with this. And
Yeah.
because we've got, some kits out there, the perfect grade, the real grade, even this little 1/200 scale high, I forget what exactly it's called. It's like HCFM
Oh,
model
yeah.
kit. Those are the only models that can transform without like parts swapping, right? Um and of course, like the perfect grade Zeta was the first perfect grade that introduced transformation mechanics to the line, but all of them have a totally different mechanic to them. Some of them have like, the waist can crunch in on itself. Some of them
Yeah.
have the waist like kind of rearranges itself. So it's all been like a how can we make this work? Um, and
Yeah.
I think that Kotoki with this new master grade is saying I'm gonna do the most anime accurate version of this transformation that I possibly can.
Wow. That's interesting. Most anime accurate. Yeah, because I never really thought about that with the Zeta, that I guess engineering wise, when they were designing it, they didn't have like a standard way when they'd make a kit, it would transform like this. And then they would animate it like that. I guess what you're saying is originally they just it animated to transform, but then when they had a model kit, it was like, okay, how do we do it? Which is
Yeah,
why, and that's funny because out of all the transforming Gunpla and robot spirits I have, they're all fine except for the Zeta. Like the Zeta is the most annoying one. The
yeah.
real grade is annoying. I have the real grade, the high grade, the robot spirits, the metal robot spirits. The regular robot spirits actually doesn't transform. I also have the fixed figuration, and I have it transformed because it's the best looking Wave Rider mode in that scale I've seen. But in all of them, transforming it is like the
It's a nightmare.
yeah, it's like so I really hope this is the case then with this, that we finally get a good transforming Zeta.
Yeah, that's my hope anyway. And
Now,
it sounds like that's what Kotoki's going for with this particular design because you look at it and it doesn't look anything. It's not like some of the other Verkas that we've seen where there's
right.
like a sharp design distinction from the other master grades that we might have.
Yeah, because a lot of times the designs were just really to be more modern and current and updated, and the Zeta already kind of had that going for it, really.
Yeah,
Now is this already available to pre-order? Do you know?
it is not. I've spent all day trying to.
I figured
But
you'd
no,
know.
to my knowledge, no, it's not available or pre-ordered just yet. But
Okay.
over on the Bandai website, they have a lot of awesome information available, including the interview with Hajime Katoke
Hmm.
about the design of it. They've got a bunch of cool like transforming graphics and like videos showing all of the different
Ah.
mechanics and the gimmicks that are available on the kit. I'm particularly excited about this. Not necessarily, well, obviously I'm a big Zeta fanboy, so
Mhm.
I am excited that it's Zeta, but the amount of love and care that they seem to be giving this kit in particular, knowing that there hasn't really been a good Zeta kit, and it pains me to say that, but there really hasn't been a great Zeta kit. Um, you know,
Yeah, is the master grade 2.0 not that great?
the Master Grade 2.0 is serviceable. It's definitely a little bit of a hand grenade.
Okay.
A lot of the components of it, because of the transformation, the bot mode doesn't feel as stable as it possibly could. And I think that Kotoki addresses that in the interview where he talks about the design of it. Is he's like, we have technology now that allows us to kind of like slide the chest plate out, which means that we can lock the chest plate in when it's in robot mode, which allows it to be a little bit sturdier. And then you
Uh-huh.
can unlock it and then lock it into the Wave Rider mode, which, it's like we're basically trying to create something that's structurally sound in both forms, which
Yeah, it's interesting because with the Wing Zero and the Rigazi Custom, both of those are transformable. And I mean, I guess in terms of the Robot Spirits version, metal, and it's like so easy. Actually, no,
yeah,
I've transformed the Wing Zero high grade, and it's so easy and it looks cool. So I hope they're able to incorporate that. It's just the Zeta itself and the Wave Rider are two like remarkable designs in the first place. Like, and just to have them transform into each other. Yeah.
it's one because it was like one of the first transformable suits in the Gundam series. It's like it wasn't designed to transform. It was designed to be like on screen
Yeah.
as a, you know.
Well, let me ask you: have you built any other Verka Gunpla?
I've not. No, I almost bought the Psycho Zaku at Comic-Con a couple years ago, but I was like, $90 seems like a lot for for a master grade.
I built and I've talked about this before, the V2 Victory 2
Yes,
unit.
the
And
Victory. I've heard a lot about this one because that one has a good transforming mechanism to it.
well, and here's the thing, it looks great, but it falls apart easily. Even building it, like, the pieces were very specific to just make an end result and not be like intuitive, which it doesn't need to be honest. I've just gotten used to high grades and real grades for so long. A lot of the pieces intuitively are made to go together to build something. Whereas with, I don't know if it's with all Verka, but at least with the V2, you would get just these random pieces that really the intention was just to have an end result. Therefore, it made it seem very I don't know. I got to do a video on it. I want to do a video of the worst Gunpla ever, and it's going to feature the real grade Zeta and the V2. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. The real grade Zeta definitely has. I think Jedi Sayla put it best in the chat was there's a special place reserved in hell for the nerf herder that designed the real grade Zeta. Um, I couldn't tell you. I mean, I have two real grade Zetas because the first one I snapped the arm off just trying to build the damn thing.
Damn. You know, so then that makes sense to me because I didn't think there would be any reason for Mr. Katoki to make a Zeta, but if it's to revolutionize, he could put his kind of fingerprint on the transformation aspect. And yeah. Okay, so the other thing was there was a master grade SD that was, well, I think it's in this video here. And it's a,
That that's pretty exciting news, right? Like
yeah,
a
I
master grade
like,
SD line.
well, here's why I think it's pretty cool is, and maybe you can see from this, like, even though it's SD, it's not like full on SD. It's, you know what I mean? It's not like that weird SD that they look like minions almost. It's like with this, it, it it's like it still has some, it's not to scale with itself, but enough of the articulation and everything when you look at it, like the full leg articulation.
It reminds me a lot of the cross silhouette line,
Oh
which
yeah,
is because you and I have
yeah,
talked about this previously, like where SD Battle Alliance isn't quite like SD. Like it's
yeah.
not like the small little chunky dwarf mobile suits. It's
It's
got
like
like some,
this. Yeah,
there's some articulation there. So
yeah,
that's pretty exciting that they're introducing this line. Personally, I love it. The first kit is not one that I would partake of, but
yeah. No,
I'm excited to see that it's a new line.
yeah. You know what? I don't know if anyone knows this, but I was curious what the size would be. I wonder if it would be something like a 1/100 scale. Like, like I don't know what SD scale is in 1/100. You know what I mean? So like if it's
Yeah.
big, and it's like that. That would be very fun. Am I like, especially if it had like an RX 78 or something you see, but just having something. Even though again, I'm not a fan of SD, but this isn't fully SD, and just building something at that size like this would be a fun project.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
And you can do a lot of fun stuff with with an SD kit of that size. Like, the first thing that comes to my mind is like you have a huge head. So obviously you can pack like a ton of LEDs into it.
Oh yeah, all
I
different
mean,
types.
you could really kit that thing out and make it look um you can make it look awesome. Because
Yeah,
obviously the limitations of wired LEDs, you kind of get your restricted articulation, but like with an SD kit, articulation's kind of out the window to begin with. So, might as
yeah,
well.
yeah. I'm curious about this. Yeah, it's showing the eyes here, how it has some sort of, I guess, plastic over it. Yeah, so they're, or unless it's already doing like, no, it has like these like plastic things in there, but I guess that could be something. Yeah, you could totally put a LED behind.
Oh yeah.
Stickers. Oh, and all the places for the stickers. I like that stuff. The real type markings. Um, yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay,
And can we
so
just talk about how the marketing materials for this new Zeta Verka and the Master Grade SD Seed suit, th- these are like night and day from like the old high grade Barbados like advertisements that we got.
I wouldn't know. I'm one of those relatively newbie Gundam fanatics. So this
These
is,
the, these advertisements are really taking it to the next level.
oh, I mean, I got to say, this is all exciting stuff. The way they're, I mean, all these different suits. Yeah, for instance, so yeah, we saw Verka Zeta, Master Grade SD from Seed, and now uh I guess January to March 2023 Gunpla lineup. So even more Gunpla. A full mechanics aerial, which I don't know much about full mechanics, do you?
No, that's not a series. That's not a line that I generally
Yeah.
collect.
I'm sure there's a lot of like manipulating all of the little pieces of it. And it's a 100 scale, so no.
Yeah,
Um,
good stuff there.
so there's this Mirasol flight unit. Yeah, and it actually makes there's not a better picture here, but it makes the aerial look more complete like a Gundam. Even though the color purple is there's nowhere else on it, but just having it on the back, those thrusters, it really makes it look like a complete Gundam.
Yeah,
Um,
it definitely sets it apart from the other Lifrith units that you see
right.
in the prologue.
Yeah, where it's all like thin profile stuff like Eva unit looking
Yeah.
stuff. One thing though just makes me think this is just like DLC. It's like we get the aerial and then like, well, to really make it the full mobile suit, here's a thruster pack you can buy down the line.
Well, and like IBO really set the tone for that with like all the different Barbados kits, right? It's like,
Oh, okay.
if you really like the Barbados Form 4, then you're going to want the Barbados Form 6, and then you're going to want the Lupus Rex. And so,
Okay. I
when you
knew
start introducing and they've been doing with the F90 kits, right?
that's right.
The
Yeah.
Master Grade F90 line has all of its different packs that you can collect to soup it up.
Yeah, I got to get into IBO. I don't know that stuff too well. But this looks cool because it has I like how it mono visor in a way, I guess, but it has like the Gaian like head thing at the top, but also like it has almost like a Samus arm, but it opens up into three. Um this one, another one that has that Gaian look almost. Very unique designs here.
Yeah, yeah, it reminds me a lot of that other suit from IBO. Why is the name escaping the Camaris,
Oh,
you know.
okay, yeah. I don't know. Can't wait to get into IBO.
I'm just gonna keep name dropping IBO stuff.
Yeah. this whole this looks sick. This looks like a simple here's a Zaku 2. I don't know. It
G
has
Witch
no,
G Witch variant.
look at the name. That is like an excellent name if this is supposed to be like a grunt bad guy suit.
Yeah,
Zowart or Zuwart.
Zoart.
Zowart. Yeah, and looking like that. I like it. And then here's
Sounds like
another.
something out of Double Zeta.
Oh, this.
Like just the name, the Zoart.
Oh, in fact, a lot of these designs do look double Zeta like in a
Yeah.
way. Um Yeah, Gundam Lefrith or Lefrither. Okay. Oh, another one, Gundam Lefrith Thorn. Okay, so these are like spoilers, I guess, if you think about it.
Yeah, which that's it kind of sucks because it's like
Yeah.
the idea that, oh well, I know there's another version of the Lifrith coming. It's
The
it's probably going to be what's the main character's name again? I always forget it. Soletta.
so yeah.
It's going to be Soletta's friends are all piloting different custom Lifriths, right?
Yeah. That's what it's gonna be. It's like for Bandai, the toy sales are more important than the lore.
Yeah.
In terms of like what gets revealed. Um so then there's this other master grade they announced. It's a Gundam Age. Again, another series I'm not familiar with, but the design looks cool. Um,
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
are you familiar with Age at all?
No, I didn't watch Gundam Age, but this definitely gives me some full armor
Yeah.
uh Thunderbolt Gundam vibes to it. It looks like a full armor Gundam just in the Age style.
Yeah. No, I really like, yeah, the look of it. Yeah, can't wait to get into something like that. Okay, so this is cool. Apparently, they're creating the high grades for the was it Southern Cross cores? Yeah. Um, so it's
That's
like,
awesome.
is it that they're making, yeah, a Gunpla for each one, and not? I think I had guessed one time they would sell one, but it would come with all the option parts. But no, they're gonna.
So I was noodling this out over on Discord earlier as I was like,
Okay.
is it going to be one kit with option parts? Is it maybe going to be two or three kits, kind of like the Black TriStars from
Oh,
Origin, where you
yeah,
have like the Gaia Mash version and then the Ortega version? But if you look at the color separation the on the art from if you scroll up and you look at the color
yeah.
separation on the mobile suits, there's no way. None of them share the same color palette. Um,
Oh, you're right. Yeah, there's it's
the
variations
chests are all
throughout.
different.
Yeah.
So even if they wanted to include option parts, they would have to include like three different chests, two different feet, four different skirts. They have to be individual kits.
And they have that sort of brown camo-ish look to it. So I think, well, and then I look at this gray, right? Usually that's for promotional stuff. Would they
Yeah.
really sell it to make it where you have to paint it and the camo? Is there other Gunpla with camo already on it? And when you build it, the camo already lines up like that.
Hmm.
Is that's very
No.
interesting. I mean, it's actually pretty cool that they would have them with that much detail.
If they decide to go with that much color separation, they might just make them all brown and call it good. But
Oh, yeah, that's right. But this would, oh man, I would love to get something like this because I love building like battle dioramas. So to have like these
the squad,
five, and then I would just have Amuro there anyway, even though that didn't happen.
yeah,
No, that is sick, man. This is, and again, I didn't have too much time to look at all the news, but I did not see where to pre-order this, so I think it's still a ways off.
yeah, that's all TBD. But man,
And
that
then
is
Zionic Friendmer is saying, I like some of the vegan designs from Gundam Age, which were rather weird and unique, but can't recommend the anime. The movie is a bit better, but requires knowledge of the series to understand. Okay, I one day I'll do it. I'm
yeah. There you
getting
go,
into
movie
this.
night.
Yep, there you go. All right, so we saw that full mechanics, Gundam Aerial, the Verka. Oh, here's the other one. This is, I think, my favorite. It's the other, I guess, would be the GPO. You know, right? Isn't that what this is supposed to be? Like the first one, the Blossom, perhaps, or is this something else? But it's from the UC Engage game, which takes place during, after the 1 Year War in Universal Century. And I mean, this is a very forward-looking design for that time in UC,
Yeah,
but it's got the GPO shield. Like that is definitely GPO like.
yeah.
Yeah, I think this looks great. I would totally get this.
It's pretty sharp. It's got it's like a Exia and Zephyranthes had a baby.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah,
Or
I like the
maybe like the
different
G
looks to
Self.
it. Oh yeah, yeah, especially yeah, with how the V fins are. You know.
Hmm. But
So
it's sharp. I really like that design.
yeah, and I just like that. Well, what I want this to do, one, I wanted the UC Engage to be in English anyway, but I want, and I guess I could look into this. I want to find out more of that story of how this is involved during that time period. Um, because yeah, on that UC Engage app, they have all this animation that's modern, good animation.
It's mind blowing to me
Yeah,
that like, some of the best anime that we have of Gundam on record currently is in a mobile game.
yeah,
That's not even a worldwide release. Like,
yeah. I don't know why they haven't just pushed it out. Maybe it was way too complicated in its monetary mechanics. That I don't know. Um,
clearly.
okay, so I wonder if that was it. I think that was it from main releases. If there's anything else anyone, oh, Blossom is different. This is a game original suit. Okay. And I
Yeah,
wonder
the
what that
Blossom is the GP00.
okay. So yeah, if anyone then knows what the name of this is, because this is RX-78 MS00Z. I mean, that sounds like a whole lot of different things, but it has the
Yeah.
GPO shield. Yeah. Um,
Yeah, it's definitely part of that line for
it
sure.
is okay. Yeah. Oh, Josue's saying, do you guys think we will ever get a high grade white base or Argama? Now,
Technically,
I guess yeah, they have the launcher for the deck, yeah, launcher for the Argama. No, yeah, no, that's or no, that
yeah.
is the Argama. Yeah,
They have
they
both the white base and the Argama.
oh they do have the white base.
Hmm.
Oh, they do. They have the yeah the hanger deck.
Hmm.
That you yeah that's right.
But it's not the full ship. It's just, one
Yeah,
launch catapult.
I saw a video on YouTube where a guy built a one and I forget what he said scale white base, but it was like the top main thing and it looked
Like the
really cool.
bridge.
Yeah, and he in his video he built everything in the 3D program, printed it out, painted it. It's like man.
That's
But
awesome.
um let's see. Goose is saying you can buy a full size white base. And I've seen those Gundam Converge or the they're like SD and they have like a white base with the characters.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so yeah, I'm gonna check again real quick if there's any other new announcements. So there's a
I mean, a
clear
lot of
Xeon.
plastic news.
Yeah.
There's a lot of new plastic coming out.
Lots of new plastic. I kind of like that because um there was all different stuff. There was like Gunpla for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, they
Wait,
really hit our core demographics.
yeah.
Zionic Fenrir says in the chat that there was a Gundam collection of 1 to 400 scale series ships. There's actually, it's 1/1700th scale.
Oh,
There's
okay, I
a,
see that. Yeah.
they have an Argama, an Albion, a White Base. I have a Rulula.
Oh, that's
They have
cool.
like a whole 1 to 1700 scale line of Gundam kits out there, but it's all ships and like the occasional, like the Dendrobium Orcus,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
stuff
I
like that.
like ship stuff so much. I feel like that it's not they don't have the right scale for that stuff too. Like I mean they do, but something I don't know. I mean it's kind of hard to have all this stuff in scale, right?
Yeah.
Um so here's what's interesting. This guy BJ Zeonic Scans. He does a lot of the translations for a lot of the manga, and so I report on a lot of this stuff. And he has something else. I guess that was from this Gundam Next Future, where they're taking Hathaway, Thunderbolt, and Narrative, putting them on TV, but they're actually cutting them into 4 episodes each, which that's
It's
pretty
kind of cool.
cool. Yeah, I think all of those would work great because I would love to see if there were like certain episodes of each one. It's like, oh, watch that episode. That will give you your fill of, like this part. NT, narrative. That was a very character driven sort of. story, but there was cool action elements, that would lend itself really well, I think, to be split up for
And
episodes.
narrative kind of has that same thing like Rogue One to it, where it's like,
Yeah.
it has to be character driven because the plot elements to it can't go anywhere else,
Yeah.
right? Like exactly how the story has to go. So the characters have to really sell it to you.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, that's I guess a great example of. But you know what's interesting though? It's like Witch from Mercury. The first season is going to be out, which apparently is just 12 episodes. Which I don't know if that's true. But then there's going to be these 4 episode cuts of these movies, and then Witch from Mercury second season. Which again, I hear it was 12 episode. Um, yeah, I don't know. It would be. Oh, let's see. So there's this COUR word. I don't even dare say it. I don't know what it is, but it's like season. Yeah, it's 12
Hmm,
each one. So it's going to be a shorter
interesting.
series.
It's interesting that they've already kind of broken it up that way.
Yeah, I mean, that's the shortest I think they've had of a regular airing like Gundam show, right? Because IBO was before this, and was that 50.
I don't think IBO hit 50, did it?
Oh,
Well, Thunderbolt definitely didn't. December Sky and Bandit
well,
Flower
yeah,
were both kind of shorter seasons.
yeah. There was like 2 movies, pretty much.
Hmm.
Yeah. Huh.
But
Oh,
but I mean,
48.
hey,
So pretty
big shout
close.
out to BJ Beauchamp. If you're in the market for Gundam manga, don't complain that there's no Gundam
Yeah.
manga out there to read. Go to Zeonic Scanlations. This guy is like, doing the Lord's work, translating, you know, hundreds of Gundam manga pages a day.
Yeah, and there's an option to donate on the site, which would be yeah, a good idea to do. And I think he's been mainly working on Rebellion, which is like the 0083 story, but expanded upon, and Crossbone,
So
and some
cool.
other stuff. But yeah, I definitely need to get into Crossbone.
Yeah.
Let's see. Lastly, what I wanted to talk about was in GBO2 this week, you can get the Gundam Delta Kai. So the MSN 001X Gundam Delta Kai. Don't know too much about this, except it looks cool. It looks like the Zeta line of Gundams because it comes from that, technically. Um, when you look at it, Steven, are there any other mobile suit design elements you're seeing?
Well, it's essentially what the Hyakushiki was supposed to be, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Ah,
the Delta Gundam was the completed version of the Hyakushiki. The Delta Kai is the customized version of what the Delta Gundam was supposed to be.
ah,
So it's kind of interesting that like in the anime, the only thing we get is the Delta Plus, and we're not quite
right.
sure where that comes from. Like, what's the lineage of the Delta Plus? And it all comes from this like weird variation that
Yeah.
didn't exist.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting, and it says that it appears in the Mobile Suit Gundam Unicorn game, which I have that on PS3, and I've been meaning to cover that for the channel, just haven't yet. Um, but then also Across the Sky, which I'm assuming is a manga, and then the MSV. Um, kind of a typical Delta style Zeta type Gundam, but it's got this nitro system. So check this out. It's a new type injection trace reformed old type system. Okay, that's actually the name of it. The nitro system forcibly enhances a normal pilot into a cyber new type temporarily and causes the mobile suit to emit blue flames during the process, which sounds pretty cool. It improves the pilot's response time and allows the use of complicated fire control system as well as remote weaponry such as Delta Kai's fin funnels. However, the process of forcibly turning the pilot into a cyber new type involves rewriting the brain, and this causes the pilot's personality to become an unusually aggressive uh, and unstable, which is common with all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Hades, Exam,
Yeah,
Nitro,
just another one.
NTD.
Yeah,
Stop messing with your brains. Like, this is kids, this is your brain. This is your brain on Cyber New Type.
Although, you know what? I remember at first when I started seeing another program for manipulating brainwaves, and then I was like, that's crazy. But the more I see, the more it makes sense to me that these, you know, corporations with a lot of money want to mess around with this technology and see what they can figure out. Um,
Yeah.
and then
And
just
not
some,
just, what's interesting is I think that they touch on that in Zeta a little bit is it's like, yes, there's military applications to the Psychomu technology, but there's civilian applications to that
yeah,
too. Like the idea that you could use brainwaves as a sort of short form radio.
yeah, that's pretty amazing. Yeah, that would be interesting. Although they're actually doing this for Richard Berger, I was going to say you have this like kind of private company create something, and then the government comes in and um, I kind
I'll
of like
have
that
that.
stuff. Yeah. Let's see. So some history. Anaheim Electronics, specially. Okay, maybe I'm reading that wrong. Converted one Delta Plus into the Delta Chi, used by the Federation for testing the Nitro system and its weapons. It was fielded in a mock combat where it defeated the MSO-1 Delta Plus, or MS-001 A1 Delta Plus, before encountering the Sleeves. Despite the enemy's numbers, the abilities of the Nitro system instantly took out all units, even though the system is proven to be dangerous to the pilot. Soon after, the Battle of the Delta Chi was transferred to Earth and was heavily modified into the land combat type Gundam Delta Kai. Man, this thing, it just keeps going. That looks sick. Yeah, there's a beefy boy. Uh, so
It's a chunk.
it's pretty cool. The one main thing is they always talk about the pilot, and they didn't. Oh, known pilots. Here we go. I was about to say, um, Freyer, Rude. I don't know. Just some more Gundam characters to learn about.
Yep.
Anyway, so yeah, that's the Delta Chi. That's pretty cool. There is a Gunpla of this available. It's on Amazon too. I've been thinking of grabbing it, but there's
It's
so
a
many.
pretty sweet looking suit. It
Yeah.
definitely is much more eye catching than the Delta Plus, which is so drab in like the flat gray.
You know what? That's a weird one because it seems awesome, but I don't really care about it outside of that. Like the gray, it's like you don't really see mobile suits like that where it's like super like rounded. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But anyway, that's gonna be it for the show today. I hope you guys had fun. There was a lot to talk about, and it was really cool. I saw the chat was active. It's always great to see everyone in the chat. Always appreciate it. And Steven, thank you for being here. It's always fun to have you here. And for those
Thank
that
you.
yeah, for those that haven't yet, check the description. There's a bunch of cool links, but Steven's YouTube is there. Check that out.
We'll
Um,
definitely be building some Verka. Don't you worry.
that yeah, that's gonna be sweet. Yeah, there's some cool stuff we're actually customizing right now. I'm learning a lot about Gunpla. But yeah, I think that's it. So yeah. Thanks everyone. We'll talk later. Have a good weekend.